Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend so far. We made it. We made it into the weekend somewhat unscathed. Yes, prices are lower than where we started the week. Yes, they're lower than just a few days ago. But I will say right now, I'm impressed at how well ADA and others held up against BTC. This is a very promising sign. And now things are looking like BTC does, in fact, have a chance to go on a bit of a run either through the weekend or as we get into next week. And I want to talk about that with you guys. Also want to talk about this analysis that popped up that I think we should have a discussion about. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So ADA's kind of floating around exactly where it was at this time yesterday. We obviously had some ups and downs as we got into our PC report yesterday. We actually saw the market go on a bit of a spike. ADA actually had a very abrupt run all the way up to almost 85 cents. And then that sharp sell-off we had immediately following that. And it's like we've talked about, there's a lot of manipulation and game playing that we're seeing in the market right now. And they're trying to get people to capitulate. Some of it's working, some of it's not. And I would say that we did actually a very good job of seeing people buy the dip yesterday. We had some strength overnight, which is a great sign as well. And right now what we're seeing is ADA again continuing to bounce off of that 50-day moving average. That's exactly what we want to see there. ADA right now, the daily stochastic RSI did in fact flip back to the bearish side because of our red candle. Right now we're down at a 3.62, the signal line at a 6.19. So we're almost completely reset here, just like we've done several times before. And we obviously know that that is exactly, again, what led to the pivot in the charts. So maybe that's what we have ahead of us. I will say it's very impressive because BTC had kind of a rough day. BTC was down 3.72% yesterday, and altcoins did not do that bad. ADA was down 3.61%. So altcoins are continuing to show a lot of resilience there. We did get actually a retest at that 4250 level on Ethereum, bounced back up to its 20-day moving average. BTC dominance just continuing to be red almost every single day. So this is what we need to see for altcoins. This is the confidence that we need to see from the markets. And this is actually despite us having a red day yesterday in terms of institutional money. Sold $126 million worth of BTC and sold $164 million worth of Ethereum. Now, understand that this week was not a bad week by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, this was the fourth largest week we have seen of institutional accumulation on the Ethereum side ever. And BTC was just kind of, I guess, a modest week, if you want to call it that. We actually had, oh gosh, what was it? $440 million worth of BTC added. So institutional money on the BTC side is kind of just putzing around. On the Ethereum side, they're still just smashing by, which is what we want to see, especially in phase 2 of this market cycle. Now, I will say I've seen some people talk about BTC continuing to drop. And, we've talked about this before. There are some levels that we do need to pay attention to if BTC does continue to break this structure to the downside. We did actually have a breach on this yesterday and a nice bounce back here. So we're testing this trend, trying to get BTC back inside here, but understand that there are levels down at, 104. If we look at our weekly, we have our 20-week moving average, our bull market support band all the way up at about 108. So those are kind of some levels that we need to pay attention to. And actually, our friendly neighborhood bear has talked about BTC actually closing this CME gap all the way down here at about 103. This is the one that was made all the way back in June. And what's interesting is CME right now is getting a little bit of a bounce off of that 100-day moving average here. And actually, we have a big old CME gap to the upside. This was actually created all the way back here on August 22nd. And this CME gap is all the way up at 116.8. So I wouldn't be surprised if BTC could and does try to make a violent move to the upside. Again, I've said many times that we probably need to watch that jobs report for next week. That's what the market seems to be watching and waiting for right now. Things on the altcoin front seem to be doing just fine. Can't really complain about it. Volume still higher, still elevated over the course of the week, 185 billion over the last 24 hours. And we can see ADA up at about $1.3 billion in trading volume. So all that's looking pretty good. Now, this was an analysis that I wanted to talk about. It says, experienced analyst says there are no longer 10 to 100x gains in cryptocurrencies like before. And he was specifically talking about the ROI on BTC, Ethereum, ADA, Doge. He said with each cycle, the 1-year ROI rate for BTC, ETH, XRP, ADA, and Doge shrinks. And yeah, we've obviously talked about the law of diminishing returns before. That's just the way that it works. You get these curves that just kind of flatten out. He said these major cryptocurrencies no longer provide the huge profits they used to. He said the chances of getting truly rich are limited to new projects where you can average buy-in close to the launch price, but that's a complex process. He said, recalling the past two to three cryptocurrencies could generate 10 to 100 times profit. And he said this ratio is now between 1.5 and 6 times at best. And I have to say, I completely disagree. While we do have the law of diminishing returns, and we've talked about regression curves in terms of ADA, and it's actually pretty big. If we take a look at ADA's rainbow regression curve here, you guys can see these red lines. This is basically the bottom and the top of this. Yes, they do show things actually flattening out over time. That's not a surprising theme here, right? It is kind of a curve that starts to flatten. But what we need to talk about here is the fact that people are making these wild judgment calls based on one big thing missing from the crypto market that hasn't been here in cycles past, and that's retail adoption. Retail adoption is the big thing that moves the market in the volatile ways that we expect it to in crypto. It's the big thing that causes our alt seasons, our up only seasons, right? And we are still stuck in this 5 to 6% of the world in crypto. While we're getting some fun and exciting news on the enterprise and government front, that's all great. But right now, what we're seeing is the market pull from the exact same pool of capital. We're not really getting any new money flowing in. Now, understand that will change. We're not going to go from being one of the fastest adopting techs in history to just flatlining with nothing going on, right? And it's like I've talked about in other videos before, where I've said that right now, it seems like there is some manipulation taking place in the market. They're trying to suppress things enough so that they can get all the, on-ramp, off-ramps in place, all the exchanges in place, all the ETFs in place, so that they can make money on all the fees, right? That's part of it's a double-edged sword, guys. It's good because it can accelerate adoption, and it will, but it's bad because there are times like we're going through right now where it's slowing down adoption. Hopefully that makes sense for people. And that's why I think that, once we get into the fall here, specifically around October, November, that we might get a little bit of a shakeout in the market. I think we're going to be higher in terms of price by the time we get there. But I wouldn't be surprised by kind of a shakeout in the market, kind of one last big one. And then we're kind of off to the races. We're accelerating into adoption. You can only keep the cat in the bag for so long. It's like I've talked about. I've had people popping up here and there talking to me about crypto, and the retail is interested, guys. That's what you need to know. They're watching, they're waiting, they're asking questions, and eventually that leads to buying in the crypto market. And we will be accelerating into better prices across the space. So that's kind of my assessment on that. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, but have a great day. Have a great start to your weekend. Hopefully we can get through this on a somewhat green note, start to attack some of these breakout trends and maybe get into an explosive week ahead. So appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Show your love below. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.